What does civil society really mean, and why is it so important that Utah says no? Some house cleaning first. Do you know what the civil society, or as Utah says from time to time, civic society is? Here's what the World Economic Forum and the World Bank have to say about it. According to the World Bank, civil society refers to a wide array of organizations, community groups, non-governmental organizations or NGOs, labor unions, indigenous groups, charitable organizations, faith-based organizations, professional associations, and foundations. Sounds a little vague, but so far so good, right? Now let's get to the WEF's explanation. They say, when mobilized, civil society, sometimes called the third sector, meaning after government and commerce, has the power to influence the actions of elected policymakers and businesses. But the nature of civil society, what is and what does, is evolving in response to both technological developments and more nuanced changes within societies. Now this sounds a bit more interesting. It's putting NGOs and P3s in between the people and their own supposedly representative government. Worth looking into, you should look up the third way. This will really shed some light on what this third sector statement is really all about. And just to give you a teaser or a hint at what it means, it's all about communitarianism, balancing your individual rights with the rights of the community, meaning taking some away from you. Now, civil society, my friends, could very well be the downfall of the United States. If you were a global organization trying to take down the U.S. and needed to do it from the inside out without being noticed, where would you go? How would you do it? If you said Utah and other red states, you would be correct. Each state has a weakness, and Utah, unfortunately, is prime for the civil society plot and infection spread. Take a look at this screenshot. You will see Utah hosted the United Nations Civil Society Conference back in 2019, the only other state outside of New York. This alone should be cause for deep concern, and some Utahns are concerned, but so far their voices are falling on deaf ears. Now notice here, highlighted in red, this is where the intent is for the conference. It is to promote the Agenda 2030 SD goals, specifically number 11, human settlements, meaning smart cities. This, of course, is a direct tie-in with the theme of their conference, civil society, which would be their version of safe, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. As you can see from this screenshot, they are starting with inclusive communities. Now, Utah always wants to be kind. That's just how we are in the state. And due to the religious culture here, Utahns want to be viewed as Christ-like, without fully understanding what this means in every given situation. This is why things like the LGBTQ plus QIA flags being put up on government buildings, sexual books in schools, and affirming care and so much more fall under this category. Essentially, these people want you to give up your own beliefs and principles because a minority wants to override you and promote their ideals and more to your children. No one can rationally argue that what Utah has now allowed in this state is in line with the dominant church here, or other religions like Christianity and Islam. Going back to the screenshot, we can see that climate change is up next on the docket. Utah is not only neck deep in this zero plan, but the state has agreed to electrify our entire transit system. Real environmentalist costs be damned. They have signed onto every green environmental justice carbon credit score system that they can find. And when we think about the climate agenda hoax, consider this quote from Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. He wrote in the preface to a 2013 report, "The future role of civil society. NGOs," he said, "labor leaders, faith-based organizations, religious leaders, and other civil society representatives play a critical and diverse set of roles in societal development. In the last 2 decades, these roles have shifted as the external environment for civil society has changed." And Klaus Schwab has been quoted as saying, "Renewed focus on the essential contribution of civil society to a resilient global system alongside government and business has emerged." This, my friends, is all to shift society into their stakeholder capitalism nightmare, otherwise known as feudalism. Peaceful societies is the most insidious of them all. They do not mean freedom of choice and peace. They mean a forced peace. One that the dignity index and disagree better will rate you on. This is all about stripping you of your First Amendment rights, full stop. And I am not the only one who has noticed either. This is an ex-post from Caroline Phippen on this very issue. Lisa Logan did a fabulous breakdown of how these are coming for our rights to free speech and our elections. And this isn't even getting into what America has signed off to with the United Nations military and peace operations. That is for another day. Just know that it plays a role here and is extremely alarming. Here's a few more details from the Civic Health Project. Take a look at this screenshot. I recommend taking a picture of this and reading it thoroughly, if you want to fully grasp what is being said here. But in essence, they will be working with AI to get us to self-censor and change our behavior that they find toxic or angry or dissenting. Think about the social media censorship that we have experienced over the last 4 years, and then multiply that by 1,000. Let that really sink in what that could mean to you and I. There will be AI, or Big Brother, and friends combing through your posts, deciding if you are speaking in a way that they want you to speak. And if you're not, you could be up for punishment. It also hints at a possible Minority Report type observation, which should terrify you. This is not only a violation of our First Amendment rights, but also of our Fourth and Fifth. So let me ask you this question. Did you consent to be test subjects? I know if I sure didn't. Did you vote for a king or committee of dictators deciding what you are allowed to say or not? What about completely changing our constitutional republic form of government into something obscene? Is this the future that you want for your children? Genuinely. Do you want your children to have everything that they think, say, and do tracked, monitored, cataloged, and used against them at any date possible in the future? This would mean the death of free speech, not just for us, but for our children and our children's children. Here's a chilling quote that should disturb you to the core. Strengthening Democracy Challenge. In partnership with Stanford's Polarization and Social Change Lab, CHP sponsored and promoted the Strengthening Democracy Challenge to test and compare short online interventions designed to depolarize Americans. Buoyed by the scientific findings of the challenge, Governor Spencer Cox selected Disagree Better as his signature theme for his 2023-2024 term as chair of the National Governors Association. He has since enlisted more than 20 Republican and Democratic governors to participate in the campaign and deliver on the Disagree Better message via public service announcements, public forums, and state-of-the-state addresses. In 2024, working with Governor Cox's team and the National Governors Association, CHP is co-leading a Bridging Ecosystem initiative to extend this campaign through December of 2024 and expand it into a broader cultural phenomenon. Now, our legislature and governor in Utah are actively working with groups like this and putting their policies in place here in our home. It is important that we all need to start asking what these social media bills Utah keeps passing are really for. Now, due to time limitations, I will skip to technology. This one should be the most obvious anyway. Smart cities. All this surveillance and monitoring is only possible with a complete and totally locked down society via surveillance. Utah is a hub for this kind of activity. We have Bumble Hive and more data fusion centers accumulating data 24/7. Utah was perfect to do all of this without anyone noticing because our faith leaders, the NGOs, the P3s, and more have bought into this. If they were not promoting AI or One Health, which is the ultimate goal of all these projects, then they are pushing Disagree Better. It's the Utah way, right? We collaborate and work with stakeholders to take away your freedom and the right of the people to be representative or have a voice. Think Count My Vote and their attack on the caucus system, the true representation of the people and only way to push back against dark money oligarchs, technocrats, and tyrants. To quote again the WEF in reference to the civil society, the term became popular in political and economic discussions in the 1980s when it started to be identified with non-state movements that were defying authoritarian regimes, especially in Central and Eastern Europe and Latin America. And so it is that they have infiltrated and turned faith leaders, churches, local governments, community organizations, and more against the people and individual choice. What they are proposing in these sweet, sugary words is the antithesis of freedom and the American Constitution. So let me ask you, how have we gone along with all of this for all this time? How did this happen? When did we decide these self-proclaimed experts and politicians are better than the rest of us, better than you or I? When did we decide that they could take away our most basic human right, the right to speak, our free speech? This, my friends, is outrageous. Hopefully, the people of Utah and the citizens of America as a whole will start to notice this more and speak up against this and demand this insidious push to take away our unalienable rights stop immediately. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And George Washington said this so well, "For if men are to be precluded from offering their sentiments on a matter which may involve the most serious and alarming consequences that can invite the consideration of mankind, reason is of no use to us. The freedom of speech may be taken away, and dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep, to the slaughter."